Welcome to Tokyo for the 7th round of the season. Gabriella Barton starting on pole from Casanova Cornwell and Chaos Anderley. Andre Nesbestny starts 4th from Eddie Hart and Thomas Holtz. Zaka Hadenko, mediocre qualifying for him. He starts 7th from Gab Stappen and Cosmas Radices. Hachai Cilia rounds out the top 10 from Juan Villalobos and Ben Allen Lee. Takayoshi Nishimoto down in 13th from Bastian Tan and Nick Haymaker. Spiker 16th with Star alongside, then it's Tam Anderley, Moises Lima and his Hyperdrive teammate Landre Zakaholi. Silky's 21st from Sri Harshwa, Million Brules and Reynes Curlis. After an exciting opening half of the season, Red Bull Racing take up pole position with the British driver alongside. All 5 lights go on here in Tokyo. And round 7 is underway with a good start there coming by ways of Gabriella Barton moving in front of Casanova Cornwell as they barrel down into turn number 1. Anderley with a good launch as well. He moves up into 2nd place past the Goodhart number 5 who we go on board with. Cornwell going side by side, moving up into 2nd place in the slipstream of Gabriella Barton, your race leader, coming through the S's. Staying up the hill as our camera's struggling to keep up with the exciting action. Zaka Hadenko getting a 5-second time penalty for causing a collision. We look at Andre Nesbestny in 6th in that number 7 car. On board we go with the Chip Ganassi driver, trying to keep touch with Eddie Hart as Spiker further back with a time penalty, but as they round the hairpin, there's a bit of contact further back. Who's that for? The yellow's still out there. That's for one of the hyperdrives. That is for Landre Zakaholi. Now his front wing is off the track there. They've flown the yellow flags, but the marshals have gotten the debris cleared up quite quickly. The 2 Revolution Racing drivers at the very back of the pack. Terrible start for them, but out in front, brilliant getaway and start for Gabriella Barton. He leads 2.3 seconds in front of the pack. On board we go with Eddie Hart in that number 20 car. He sees his teammate right in front of him as they round the final corner to begin the 2nd lap of this race. And Barton really has just shot away from the field. Chaos Anderley looking for a pass for 2nd here, holding on to the inside line. Side by side, they hold it, coming up through the S's. That 19 car looks almost as feisty as it did last season, but just not able to get past Casanova. So having to maintain that 3rd place then for the German driver as they enter the 2nd sector of this track. Barton with the fastest opening sector of this race. And that Red Bull just looks indomitable already. The only way I see this team losing out on the race win today, because of how quick Barton already looks, the only way I see them losing out is through tire strategy, because even if this man has a wreck, I can't see him losing out. But you can see those soft tires graining up very early in this race. Of course, Hankook bringing a softer compound of tire for this race just to see how it goes. But they might have to revert to the tires that they were using for the other 6 rounds of this season so far, because they are graining quite heavily as they come around the final corner to start lap 3. 50% for Chaos Anderley, who dives down into the pits. He was on soft compound tires. Barton now with the fastest lap, so we expect to see the softs to do about 4 laps. Mediums, well, they're at 58 as Cosmas Radices comes across the line. Tam Anderley with the fastest lap in 12th. So we expect the mediums to probably do the same amount of distance as the softs, which is more than suboptimal. Chaos Anderley re-emerging in this race in 18th. And he's on a set of hards. First man to do any laps on these hard tires all weekend, in fact. Andre Nesbestny 2 seconds behind the German. The gap out in front, 1.3 seconds as they make their way out of the hairpin. And just look at the absolutely terrible graining on that number 5 car. He's being caught by Eddie Hart, so let's take a look behind Casanova here. He's been caught by the Scotsman in that 20 car. They're going to go side by side, going down through Spoon Curve. And that was a magnificent exit there from Casanova to hold on to 2nd place. And in fact, build up quite the substantial gap. It's 2 seconds now the margin between the men 2nd and 3rd as they come through the Casio Triangle. And it's a good day to be a Team Impul fan, especially at their home race. They run up in 4th and 5th. Both of these drivers with race-winning pace as the top 4 all come down into the pits. The 22 of Hatchai Cilia taking the lead on lap 4 of 13. However, those tyres don't look too good now, do they? 17% actually comes through the opening corner. Up through the S's then with the number 22. Closest man behind her is Juan Villalobos, and he is 4.1 seconds down on the Impol 22. Power Motorsports Tam Andalay in the 3 car, caught by Takayoshi Nishimoto, who needs a good race at home today, has really struggled to even see the podium, and it's contact and a 5-second time penalty there for the number 3. Staying on board with Power Motorsports Golden Gal, I guess, coming through the hairpin. And it's not a great exit, and you can tell why. Just doesn't have the grip for it. Might just need to conserve a little to get to pit lane at 6%. Dives quite a bit wide. You don't want to be sliding too much with these hand kicks because they are very sensitive to that. Coming out of Spoon Curve, 4%. Your race leader, however, has hit 0. Hatchai Cilia hits 0. As they come into 130R, Andalay struggling. She hits 1%. They're side by side. That's with Spiker. Is that a lunge by ways of Tam Andalay? It is. And they stay side by side, fighting over 3rd. But I doubt that she's got the tyres to keep it up, and she doesn't. 0% hit. Full car puncture imminent. So, of course, the top 5 coming into the pits. And Gabriella Barton actually made the pass for the lead. We weren't looking at that. 8 to go here from Tokyo, Japan. Lebarton leads the way. Stars just punched in the fastest lap of this race. Brules stealing it away. Zakaholi, despite the earlier front wing damage, has recovered and now has the fastest lap. You're not going to believe who's second, though. It's Andre Nesbesny, who started this race outside of the top 5. The soft tire gambit working out for the Moldovan. However, at 40%, he absolutely cannot go as long as Casanova Cornwell can with relatively fresh hard compound tires. So we're on board with the 5 coming through the hairpin. Is he going to look for the move, using some attack charge, losing all of it in fact, and he just can't get close enough. Doesn't have enough saved compared to Andre in the 7. He's going to have to come with some attack mode. Otherwise, I don't think that Casanova's going to be able to make the pass. But he does have a good run. He's got a great slipstream and goes side by side. Only with 4% attack charge remaining. It's going to have to be a late lunge into Casio. He makes it, holds it, and takes 2nd place. Brilliant stuff from the 5 car there to move up into 2nd, but he's still 5 seconds off of the race lead. As we begin lap 6 of 13, Nesbesny comes into the pits. Cornwell lucky enough to get attack mode from that. Meanwhile, behind him, the 2 Trackhouse drivers fighting over 3rd place. Who's going to be the one standing on that last step of the podium? Because we don't expect, with the addition of Nesbesny, we don't expect the rest of the podium position to have any new challenges in this race as they come through the S's. My tablet really is struggling to keep up, guys. On board with the 20. And Zaka Hidenko for Kondo Racing at their home race. They've just punched in the fastest 3rd sector. That was close to the wall, Freddy. As we stay on board with the number 20 car. Where's that move going to come? If he has the tyres and pace to make a move, that is. Which I heavily doubt. Coming out of the hairpin. He's going to go side by side with his teammate. Easiest pass he's ever made, using a lot of attack charge there. Something tells me that Trackhouse Racing told Chaos not to fight too hard. As Ben Allen Lee forcing his teammate off the track. What is the old head doing in that 14 car? Had the opportunity to win a race a few races ago. Now down in 20th. Pulling off some of the most outrageous defensive moves possible, and I think you can see why. Chaos Dantley and Silky holding its line astern 2 by 2 as the 11 gets past. Cornwell now leads this race as LaBarton and Eddie Hart are both down into the pits on lap 7 of 13. This is really beginning to heat up as we're on board with the 14. And he's got fresh soft compound tyres as well. Why is he weaving so much? I understand he's in amongst the pack. Dirty air is rarely a problem with these ERL 03s. Aside from ultimate pace, you don't really get too much sliding, as there goes the 3. Past Silky up into 11th place. Looking at the drivers who have come out of the pits there, Reynes Curlis in 21st. Moises Lima, Hachai Cilia and Bastian Tan for Kondo Racing at the very back. On board with Chaos Andalay. And 26% then. 25% for Chaos Andalay actually. 4 lap old hard tires, that's what he's on. And the real question is, can he make it to the end with them? Well, at the very least the end of his stint, because he can't do another 5-6 laps on the same set of hard compound tires. It's just not possible. Not at all. On board with Eddie Hart, side by side with Zakar Hidenko, on board with the 23 in that Kondo Racing car and not showing too much pace. Yes, he's got some very old soft compound tires, but it's still quite a shock as he comes into the Casio Triangle. No real pace. Into the pits from many of the race leaders then, including Casanova Cornwell, who goes on to a set of softs on lap 8. Takeyoshi Nishimoto, this is going to be a brilliant sight for the home fans. He leads in front of Gabriela Barkton and Juan Villalobos. Cosmas Rodices runs in fourth from Andre Nesbesny and Ben Allen Lee. So your leading pack has re-emerged in this race with Casanova Cornwell in 12th, outside of the top 10, likely with another stop to make. This isn't great news for the Goodhart Racing man. He does have a lot of attack charge to use. I'll give him that, as that's a late lunge there from Gab Stappen to move up into 8th. Meanwhile, up front, very easy pass made by Gabriela Barkton. Barely even fought by Takeyoshi Nishimoto, who's at 5% coming through Spoon Curve. Gonna lose a lot of tyre life going through that very medium speed left-hander. He's at 2% heading down into 130R. I think he might make it, with Juan Villalobos chasing him right behind. He hits 0 coming through 130R. The rears go as he comes out of the most famous corner on this track. Cosmas Medicis coming up right behind him to see the Japanese driver's hopes go with one rear tire. Should be good to come into the pits from 4th, and he does. Andre Nesbesny also comes in, so Barkton now your race leader. Juan Villalobos coming in. Eddie Hart moves up to 2nd place, with Casanova Cornwell in 3rd. It's all going to come down to how much does this tyre offset that a lot of the guys who have run the hard compound tyres, how much does that matter? Because we see some drivers on some very, very old hard compound tyres. You're looking at Star for Junior Motorsports, who, yes, in 5th place, brilliant stuff from him, but in that number 9 car, 48% tyre wear, that can get you to about lap 10, 11, 12, but that final lap is going to be where these hard tyres are going to start screaming for mercy. They need to come off soon. And Casanova's on the back of Eddie Hart here, whose attack mode is more powerful. And you can see that 5 just charge up into 2nd place, going through Spoon. 6 seconds to the race lead. 7 seconds, in fact, to the race lead. Barkton just has this race wrapped around his finger from pole position. I think he's controlled it ever since the lights went out. Cornwell's real shot of changing the complexion of this race came on the start, and unfortunately for him, he just missed out. We go on to lap 10 though, with Cornwell leading, and that's because Barkton's in for his 3rd and hopefully final stop. He goes on to a set of softs. I don't know if that's the best move, because Cornwell can come in, strap on a set of mediums and get himself to the end comfortably. Heck, he can go out on a set of softs and he can still get himself to the end quite comfortably. The softs on lap 10, that's not the tyres that you want to be on. Even if they are a fresh set, you need to do a lot of management. As you can see, the 17 of Gab Stappen caught by Moises Lima, passed by Moises Lima. Those two used to be teammates last season at Envision Racing. but he did move over to Manor for this season. On board with Casanova Cornwell, the race leader at 34% tyre wear. These soft compound tyres, 2 laps after the out lap, of course. It's going to be quite hard to get them to the end, so we do expect him to come in, and in fact we expect all of the top 5 to come in. Heck, maybe even the top 7. Juan Villalobos could make it to the end. It would be very close for him. Very, very close. But it's not impossible as we watch the Venezuelan driver go side by side with Sri Harishwar as Harishwar's own teammate makes the pass on Cosmas Pedisas behind him. You can see we expect the Indian to come in at 25% tyre wear. Is Cornwell done in pit lane? You bet he is. KR Sandley on lap 11 leads for Trackhouse Racing. Juan Villalobos drops down to 3rd. There is Gabriella Barkton. Many wins in the IndyCar Series. You expect him to do quite well. As it stands, he is doing very well to keep those soft tyres in check. It's going to come down to that final stint, though. Really, really is. 1.7 seconds, the margin between the leaders. Yep. Looking back with Juan Villalobos. That number 18 car, it looks faster, especially last time out. And oh, a caution out. That's for Spiker. Oh, a power unit failure for the man who was leading the championship during the early phases. Now out on lap 11. Highly unfortunate for the Mexican driver. But the cautions are ending. So we could go green quite quickly. And we are green again. And the question is, will Barkton come in? We're pretty certain that Chaos Sandley is going to dive down into the pits at the end of this lap. But we don't know about the Red Bull 15 rounding that final corner. And Anderley's going to stay out. But Barkton stays out for this penultimate lap. Further behind, you've got Takeyoshi Nishimoto moving into 5th place for a second there, as it's a 5-second time penalty for Ben Allen Lee in 15th place. The Japanese driver drops to 6th place. Just looking at the guys in their tyres, Cornwell, after coming into the pits, is down in amongst the pack. This could get quite bad for the man who really needs to get a wriggle on in the championship if he is to follow in his brother's footsteps. And it's contact with Landre Saccaoli there. Gets past Hatchai Cilia, who really is struggling with her soft compound tyres. This is a tyre race at this point. It's a race against time for Casanova, who has to make up 14 positions in 14 seconds in the matter of a lap and a half. He's going to need some aid to get there. It's a 5-second time penalty for Nick Haymaker right in front of the 5. Chaos Sandley's got a rear puncture in that number 19 car. Passed by Takeyoshi Nishimoto. He currently runs in 6th, and he's going to lose all of those positions right now. There goes Nesbesny. There goes Brules, who's had an absolute stormer through the field from 23rd on the grid. Here comes the chasing pack behind him. It's going to be quite hard to avoid him, and they don't! Oh, front wing damage for Cornwell. The front wing flying off the track. Anderley somehow managed to avoid a 5-second time penalty and a full course caution. But for Cornwell, that wing damage might curtail his day, and you can see damage for Star as well. It's on the opposite sides for the two British drivers. Out in front though, the Barkton's at 9%. What about Villalobos? Not doing too much better at 5. Tam Anderley's got a 5-second time penalty for causing a collision. That seems to be with Landre Saccaoli. This is unbelievably close. Fighting over 11th place. Star somehow holding on to 10th, and that last point is paying position. But he does have a 5-second time penalty. They're going 3 wide behind him. Saccaoli somehow holding off Tam Anderley. We're keeping an eye on Barkton, who's coming through the final sector. Hidenko with a fastest first sector of anyone. Quite a ways away from this pack. You can see the 23 go by your screen for a second, and it's a puncture for Gabriela Bogdan. Puncture for Villalobos as well. Eddie Hart chasing after the Filipino driver, gets past him, going through 130R. Trackhouse Racing finally have some luck thrown their way as he comes through the final corner. His teammate down in 22nd. Eddie Hart takes victory in Tokyo. Bogdan, who had controlled this race to the white flag, is going to be rewarded with third at the line. Cosmas Padises. Oh, there's more punctures. That's Gabstappen. What has happened to these handkicks at the final stages of this race? That seems to be Nishimoto getting a time penalty for colliding with Million Brules, and that number 12 car's got a full car puncture coming to the line. Oh my, what a finish. This is your podium. Eddie Hart, the Trackhouse Racing, finally getting a race win on the board for that team. Second place. Great stuff from Thomas Holtz to get onto the podium today. And third, Gabriela Bogdan, looking to increase his championship lead. Has he done so? Well, we're going to have to look at the rest of your finishes for that. Haymaker came across the line in second place, but had a 5-second time penalty, which drops him outside of the top three. Landro Sakaholi, fifth from Bastian Tan and Silky, won the Lobos, 8th from Star and Gabstappen, the final of your point scorers. Was the fastest lap point awarded today? No. Zakar Hdenko, scored 11th from Casanova Cornwell and Rainis Curlis. I don't know what's going on with me today, guys. Just can't speak. Sri Harishwar, 14th from Andre Nesbestny and Tam Andale. Then it's Lima. Cosmas Nishimoto at home only scoring a 19th place finish. Then it's Million Brules, Chaos Andale, Hachai Cilia, and Ben Allen Lee, whose teammate Spiker did not see the checkered flag. Thomas Holtz now takes the points lead from Gabriela Bogdan and Nick Haymaker. Then it's Spiker, Landro Zakaholi, and won the Lobos, Hachai Cilia, 7th from Ben Allen Lee and Sri Harishwar. Then it's Tam Andale, Moises Lima, Zakar Hdenko, and Eddie Hart from Star, Takeyoshi Nishimoto, Bastian Tan, Andre Nesbestny, Cosmas Padises, Gabstappen, Rainis Curlis, Casanova Cornwell down in 21st, Silky, Chaos Andale, and Million Brules. Well, everyone scored points so far, so heading into round 8, Team Impol, leaving their home race, have something to celebrate about. They now lead the points, 10 up on Red Bull. Then it's 23-11, Hyperdrive Advanced, Chip Ganassi Racing, Mata Motorsport, Power Motorsport, Kondo Racing, Trackhouse Racing, Junior Motorsports, Good Heart Racing, and Revolution Racing. Well, leaving the 7th round of the championship, look at where the guys who finished last season, 1st and 2nd, are 9th for Trackhouse, 11th for Good Heart, and then if you look at Red Bull, who finished in 3rd, well, they're 2nd now. Team Impol, who are basically nowhere for the first 2 seasons of this championship, have now really got it in gear. But will that continue into the latter stages of the season? Well, you're going to have to sit back and wait, because up next here on Sparkplug Motorsport, we've got the Champ Car World Series. So we will see you guys later then when the Electric Racing League returns.